All right, very cool. Well, thank you, everybody. I am Lisa Scuderi. I am the Women in Manufacturing Texas Chapter Chair, and I am a process safety specialist at BASF in Freeport, Texas. And I'm here tonight with my lovely co-host, Morgan. Morgan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Morgan Dart. I'm a production manager at BASF at our Freeport facility. I'm also the Houston lead for the WiM Texas Chapter. I will be hiding behind our Texas Chapter logo today as IT support. So if you guys have any issues throughout the presentation, feel free to send me a chat and I will try to fix it as quickly as possible.
Awesome. Thank you, Morgan. So appreciate that. So if you have any questions that come up throughout the meeting, go ahead and feel to put them into the chat. We do have a Q&A session about like 3/4 of the way through. And we have an opportunity for all of you to share your bullet journals. So we're going to jump right into the agenda. All right. So we went in through our welcome. We're going to go through our agenda real quickly. And then we're going to jump into bullet journaling basics. So I'm going to talk about the basic things you need to know, the terms, what do you need to get started, and the basic spreads you're going to set up in your bullet journal when you get started with bullet journaling. Then I have a plan with me video. So this is a pre-recorded video of me setting up my 2022 bullet journal. So you can have an example of how somebody sets up their bullet journal. Obviously, this is just what works for me, and I'm happy to share it with you. And then we have an opportunity for all of you to share any of your bullet journals or any tips and tricks that you have with your process and what works for you. And then we're going to jump into Q&A, and Morgan will help us facilitate any questions that you have as we go through the event. And to thank you all for participating in our very exciting event tonight. We have not one, but two official bullet journal edition 2 journals to give away. These are really nice, high quality notebooks that are great to get you started. So we're going to give away 2 of these bad boys at the end of the event. So hang on with us for a chance to win a bullet journal. And then we'll go through closing remarks and send you off with some resources to get you started. All right. Okay, so we're going to start with the big question. What is bullet journaling? So bullet journaling is a customizable analog system to help you organize your thoughts, your tasks, your events, all in one very quick and easy to access place. One of the great things about the bullet journal system is that it's completely flexible, totally customizable. You can make the system whatever you need to help you with your life. Ryder Carroll, who's the creator of the bullet journal system, described it as a mindfulness practice disguised as a productivity system. So if you're one of those people who has Post-it notes and receipts and random bits of paper and notebooks, and maybe you have an electronic notebook that you keep, and you've got all this stuff spread out all over the place, the bullet journal is a great way for you to capture all of that into one spot so that you can capture all of your thoughts and have it an easy, accessible, easy to find and organized way to collect all of that. All right, so we're going to jump in. So this topic is really kind of fundamental to bullet journaling, and that is, what is your intention? Really, what do you hope to get out of bullet journaling? What do you hope to accomplish? So why are you here tonight, right? What caught your eye? Why did you decide you wanted to hang out with us for the evening? Are you hoping to increase your productivity? Are you hoping to be more organized? Maybe you're looking to be a little better with time management. I know that's something that I struggle with and that the bullet journal has helped me with. Maybe you just want to capture those important memories so you don't forget them and you have them in a place that you can look back on in the future. The bullet journals are, like I said, a completely flexible, totally customizable system that you can adjust to suit whatever your needs are. So if you guys want to go ahead and put into the chat, what are your intentions? What are you hoping to get out of bullet journaling? And you don't have to answer now. You can put it in the chat as we're thinking about it throughout the event. But something you want to have in your mind, right? Better organization. Absolutely. This is definitely good for that. Thanks, Stephanie. Yep, definitely. Yeah, it's really helped me tremendously with organization. Yeah, task and time management. for sure. Yeah, getting rid of sticky notes. I have there's the sticky note boneyard at the end of my bullet journal. Sorry, we just jumped a whole bunch of slides. Let me get back. Here we go. All right. Yeah. Organized and managing 100 projects. Yeah. Uh-huh. This is a great way to do that and organize your projects, and you have it all in one customized system. Focus in time management. Perfect organizational method. We'll see. Hopefully, maybe this will be it. And because you can customize it to suit whatever your needs are, I think that's one of the unique things about this system that's very different from other systems, is that this is your system. You get to make all the rules about what you want and what do you want in your bullet journal and what do you want to spend your time on, not just your task, but actually in your bullet journal itself. All right. So this is just some ideas of some of the many, many, many different things you can do with your bullet journal. You can have a future log where you capture your dates and future events and tasks that you want to do. You can track tons of different stuff, from your habits to your mood. Maybe you want to do a symptom tracker. Maybe you're hoping to get a better handle on your budget, or maybe you just want to write down and capture and be really proud of all the great books that you read this year. Or maybe you want to just write down all the TV shows and movies and games you've played, all those little memories that you've collected throughout the year. Maybe you want to practice being more grateful and you want to have a gratitude log. Maybe you're working on projects. You want to build a project planner or a Kanban board or a goals spread. There's so much that you can do with your bullet journal that can help organize your life and increase your productivity and add some calm and de-stress to everything going on. So I've got a couple examples over here on the right of things that I've done in my bullet journal. So I wanted to be better at time management. So I built a time tracker. This is a monthly time tracker, so I could visually see how I was spending my time. And then I have my butterfly log. I have a butterfly garden, so I wanted to be able to capture and keep notes of all the times those little guys went out into the world. So there's just a couple of the thousands of examples of things that you can do with your bullet journal. All right, so we're going to jump into what do you need to know to get started with your very first bullet journal, your bullet journaling basics. On the left here, I have a little picture of my very first bullet journal. I actually started in what's called an ARC disc journal, ARC. And I tried that because it allowed me to be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more customizable. I could move the pages around if I didn't like the way it was set up. I really liked this. It allowed me to try the system and to get used to it without being in a structured notebook. I was a little intimidated by the fancy notebooks that you see out there. I just wanted to start with something simple. All right, so one of the key aspects of bullet journaling and why this works versus traditional note taking is a process called rapid logging. So what is rapid logging? Rapid logging is a quick method of capturing your thoughts. So traditional note taking is very lengthy. You've got lots of words. It takes a long time to write everything out. It's very cumbersome. Rapid logging is your own homebrewed shorthand that you're going to do to just capture enough of that thought that you can cue your mind, trigger your mind on, oh, that's what this is about. And you don't have to write out huge, long sentences. I recommend that you practice this. It takes a little getting used to, but it's a quick way of getting your thoughts down on the page so then you can come back to them later and move on and focus on something else. Oops. Okay. So how do we do that? So we build our rapid logs with bullets and signifiers. So you have a little bullet sign for tasks. You have a dash for notes, a little circle for events, and then you also have different ways to adjust your task. So an X through your task means that the task has been completed. A right arrow means that you've migrated that task. So that task is, we're not doing it now, we're going to do it later. Or you've scheduled your task if that's a left facing arrow. So we're going to schedule it. We're going to plan it for the future. So we're going to go back to that future log and we're going to put it in there to capture for later. Or we're drawing that big line through it and saying, this puppy is not worth my time. and we're going to cancel that sucker. There's also signifiers. So a little star is something that's prioritized or important. As with all things, right? The more things you make important, the less things are important. So use that sparingly. And then you have an exclamation point that is for your ideas or inspiration. I really like this one. I use it a lot, especially when I'm taking notes for things like WiM. I'll come up with little ideas and I'll put the little exclamation part. So I remind myself as I look back through my notes later, hey, I had this cool idea here I wanted to capture later, and maybe bring that forward. There's also a technique called nesting. Basically, this is just taking your main topic and then you have some sub bullets or sub thoughts underneath that main item. Okay, so some basic bullet journal terminology. So bujo is short for bullet journal. A spread is any page or pages in your bullet journal that have a specific purpose. And a collection is just a group of spreads. So anything that's used to log tasks, lists, notes, etc., that has a common purpose is a collection. So if I have, for example, on the right, I have a monthly review and I have a weekly time tracker. Those are just a couple of examples of spreads that I have. If I had multiple monthly reviews, that would be my collection of monthly reviews. For as example, my WiM monthly board meetings would be a collection of spreads, the spreads being the individual board meetings, and then I have the page numbers as they exist within my bullet journal. Okay, so the first basic spread you're going to set up in your bullet journal is an index. This is a really important part of your bullet journal. It's very important to number your pages. This is one of the key pieces of the organization piece of your bullet journal. And you're going to, as you go through your bullet journal, you're going to reference back to your index and write down all of your spreads and collections in your bullet journal with the pages that they exist in your bullet journal, so that you can go back and quickly reference those spreads whenever you need them. A quick tip for you, a pro tip, is that say you've got a lot of big things going on in your life. Maybe you use your bullet journal for work and for personal use. You may want to have a work index and a personal index to help you quickly reference that. I've done this before when I've had kind of bigger things going on in my life. For example, in my personal bullet journal, I have a WiM index, and that helps me to quickly reference all the spreads that I need that are related to WiM. The next basic spread that you're going to set up is a key spread. This is a very simple spread. It's just a list of all the bullets and signifiers that you want to use in your bullet journal. I recommend that you start with the basics that we've already gone over and that you can see on the right here. But you can absolutely customize this to whatever you need in your life. Maybe you want a way to indicate that a task has been delegated or that a task is in progress. Maybe you want a way to denote whether a task is a work task or a personal task. Whatever you need, whatever works for you, there's lots of great examples online of different things you can do. You can completely customize this to whatever works in your system. The next basic spread that you're going to set up is your future log. Your future log is the place to capture all of those future events and tasks that you're coming up in the future months that you want to make sure that you've documented and you've written down so you don't lose track of them. This on the right is a very basic future log setup. You just divide your page into thirds and then put the month at each of the top of each of those sections. And then this is a place where you can now reference back and put all of those events and tasks that you want to reference for that upcoming month. There's tons of different layouts available for future logs. This is a basic layout. You'll see in my Plan with Me video that I use a slightly different layout. That's what I find has worked for me. I really like that layout. I highly encourage you to look online and see all the different examples, and you can find one that works for you. The next basic spread in your bullet journal is your monthly log. So your monthly log is going to consist of two big pieces. The first piece is basically your calendar. So your calendar is going to exist. There's kind of two main ways that people do this, either as this list that you see here, where it's just a list of the dates and then the days of the week. And that's where you're going to log all of your events that you have going on that month. or you can set it up as a traditional calendar if that's easier for you mentally to kind of process the month as it goes by. In addition to that, you're going to have a task list, and these are all the tasks that you want to accomplish that month. And we'll get into a little bit more detail about how you're going to build that monthly task list in just a little bit. The next part of your bullet journal, and this is really the meat and the potatoes of your bullet journal, is your daily log. Your daily log is really simple. You're just going to put the date, and this is where you're going to capture all of those notes about things that came up throughout your day, all of your tasks, your events, your thoughts, anything that you want to capture in your bullet journal, go ahead and write it down. I personally don't like boxing in my daily logs because some days I have a lot I want to write down and some days I only have a little bit. So I don't like having fixed places for my daily logs because sometimes I need more space and I want to make sure I give myself that space in my journal. It's also important not to hoard pages in your journal. Remember, you have your index. You can quickly reference back to whatever spreads you set up. If it's set up further on in your bullet journal, that's totally okay. So you've got your daily log. One of the things that's important with your daily log to note is that you're not going to put your daily logs in your index, and that you can put anything in your daily log. Don't worry about it if those are tasks that you want to do that day. Maybe this is just a task that popped into your head that you want to make sure you do at some point. Just put it down, get it out of your head so you can focus on what you want to focus on. And then as you're looking at your task later, then you can move that task. Maybe you want to plan that task for future months, or maybe you want to move it to the next migration. So migration, this is really the heart of the bullet journaling system, and this is where the system becomes a practice. So at the end of the month, you're going to set up your new monthly log. You're going to go back and look at all of your daily logs from that month, and you're going to migrate all of those tasks that aren't done yet into your monthly log if they're worth your time. And you're going to schedule any of those tasks back into your future log. This is the point where you're going to ask yourself, is this task really worth my time? Is there value in doing this task? Are we going to be able to finish everything that needs to get done? What happens if this task doesn't get done? So this is really important. If it's not worth writing down, chances are it's not worth doing. All right, so now some basic tips for bullet journaling. One, start simple. Make sure you record your thoughts. Start with a basic journal, any journal. I recommend you start with just a cheap notebook that you've got and any writing utensil. Just try the system. Start with just simple daily logs, try rapid logging. I recommend that when you're starting rapid logging, you go back and you look at your rapid log and see what you've got written down and make sure that what you wrote down makes sense. Again, this is your own abbreviated shorthand. It takes a little practice to get the words to be something that makes sense. Maybe you have to go back and add a couple words or add a few thoughts that were missing from what you wrote down. As you're doing this, you want to reflect on what is your intention. What was your purpose in bullet journaling? Are you achieving your goal with doing this? If reflection is a big part of bullet journaling, especially when you're getting started and you're trying to figure out what works for you. Think about what's working and what's not working. And really think about why isn't it working and what could you be doing differently? And remember that your bullet journal is your own. Your bullet journal isn't going to look like anybody else's, and that is okay. There's a lot of imposter syndrome when it comes to bullet journals because there's so many beautiful, aesthetically pleasing bullet journals online, on Instagram. Your bullet journal doesn't need to be a beautiful painting every month. Your bullet journal is a productivity system that's there to help you do what you need to do. All right, so writer Carol said it best. Bujo is not about perfection, it's about purpose. It's designed to help you spend more time with the things that actually matter, and less time with the things that don't. All right. All right, so now we're going to start the plan with me video. I'm going to switch gears here and switch you guys over to the video. Just take a second.
Hi everyone, I'm Lisa Scuderi and I'm going to walk you through my 2022 bullet journal setup. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to do is think about the spreads that I found really helpful, that I've used in the past, that I actually referred to. I found that, like a lot of bullet journals, I put a lot of spreads in that I didn't really use. That's okay. That's the normal part of the process. It is a totally customizable system. So, what I do is I'll take these post it notes and write down the pages that I want and then stick them into the journal and get a feel for the layout so I know I'm happy with how things are set up. After that, as you can see, I'll go through and I'll sketch everything out in pencil so that I'm happy with the layout and how it all looks. And then I'll come back and start marking it in with pencils and markers and pens and things. All right, so if it's over the very first spread that I have in my bullet journal is called a grid spacing spread. And this is where you lay out the division of the pages. So it's all easily kind of predefined for you so you don't have to think about it or do the math later. So we've got the vertical solid line is my halfway mark, and then I've got uh, a spot for a quarter and a third, and of course I've got the little number telling me how many squares are in the whole page. So it works really well. I really use the spread a lot, and it's really helpful for me when I'm setting up other spreads within my bullet journal. I can quickly reference this one and I'll know how I need to divide up the page. So I find this really helpful. I decided to use a different color scheme just to add a little bit of pop of color. You can see me using my correction tape. Correction tape has a very special place in my pencil case. I use it often. It's really useful for covering up bigger mistakes, maybe smaller ones, than a simple white gel pen is really helpful. So I used, like I said, the purple and pink color scheme for the vertical lines and then a green and yellow for the horizontal lines. So to kind of mix up the design a little bit, I decided to go with a curly font, a curly scripty font, along with a nice simple font from a design aesthetic that looks really nice. And I decided to go with my silver gel pen just to add a little bit of pizzazz to my grid spacing spread. Gel pens are a super easy way to do that and actually relatively cheap. So the next spread I'm working on is called a key spread, and this has all of the symbols that I'm going to use in my bullet journal. I use all of the symbols that are part of the basic official bullet journal system. So I find that these work for me. I've added in the past and I end up not really using them. These simple symbols work really well. So then I've got a list of all the different symbols and the different signifiers that I use. And then I decided for the title to use, again, a pretty kind of calligraphy-esque scripty font. And I've got my Tombow marker to help me, Tombow brush pen to help me do that. There are lots of different brands of brush pen. You don't have to use the Tombow. This is just a nice when I treated myself to a fancy Tombow brush pen. Just add a little bit of design and interest to your bullet journal. Your bullet journal is your own. You can make it as artistic as you want it to be. I think that's one of the beauties of the bullet journal system is that it's totally customizable. If you want your system to be really basic and minimalist, that is totally fine. If having it a little more artistic inspires you more to want to use your bullet journal, then great. It does take a little bit more time. There are other ways around it. You could, say, for example, print this word key in the pretty font that you wanted that you found online and then print it out and paste it in here. There are also lots of cool printable options that you can do that are really helpful for your bullet journal as well. You can see here I decided I wanted to add a little bit of design to my bullet journal, just a little bit. So I've got like a keyhole. You can see where I've kind of marked out on the page where I was going to come back later and add maybe a little bit more flair to the page when I have some more time. So just a simple little bit of design element. If you want the nice straight lines, definitely the circle template and the ruler are your friend. I find that the circle template doesn't really help me very much when I am doing lettering, but I really like it for elements like that. The next page in my spread is my index. So index is a very important part of your bullet journal. Again, this is a cool font that I found on Pinterest. You can just look them up. There's tons of cool fonts, and I just wrote it out in pencil first so that I had the shape of the word that I wanted, and then covered it over with my Sakura Micron. This is an 05, so it's a little bit fatter nib. Just for that outline, I tend to go for the little bit fatter nib, and I've chosen to just do 2 pages for my index. You may choose to do 4 or 6 pages. I also found that with my index for my work journal, I really only need 1 index. I don't need to divide it up into different types of indexes. For my personal bullet journal, I actually found that it worked better for me when I had different indexes for different purposes. So, for example, I use my personal bullet journal both for my personal tasks and for women in manufacturing tasks. So I find it helpful to have a separate index for women in manufacturing, my bullet journal. That's been really helpful for me in the past, that I can quickly look and find that index, and then it'll have all of those collections and spreads from my women in manufacturing work, and makes it nice and easy to find. So that may be something you want to consider as you set up your index. Again, you may want to give yourself more space than I'm giving myself here. This is just what works for me. You probably want to start out giving yourself a little bit more room, at least for the index. In general, you don't want to hoard pages in your bullet journal, right? I think this has been one of the biggest learnings that I've had when I'm bullet journaling, is that you can always add a spread later if you're not sure that you want to use it or that it'll really work for you. Just set up what you know is going to work. Try it. Keep it simple first. Try the system. See what you like. See what works. And then you can adjust it later. So I think that's probably one of the best advice. Just don't hoard pages in your bullet journal. You can always go back and add pages later, with the potential exception of your index, where you really do want those pages in the beginning, and if you think you may want an individual index for something, go ahead and set that up. And if you don't use it, now you know for next time. So that would be the only maybe caveat. For a little bit of a design element here, I've just opted to create a simple box that kind of ties in with the layout that I've gone with for the rest of the setups in the bullet journal. I'm using this simple clear ruler. I find the clear ruler is helpful, especially when I'm lettering, to be able to see where the parts of the letters are, so that I can easily use it to make nice even lettering. The other thing that's really helpful, and I recommend, is that when you use your ruler, you pick out a ruler for bullet journaling, I recommend you get one that has centimeters on it. So the centimeters, each of the bullets are half a centimeter apart. So it's really helpful and makes setting up the spread a lot easier. You'll see that I reference throughout the video that I'm using my ruler to check spacing with my bullet journal and my setup. I find that's a really quick and easy way to do it and save some time, and then you don't have to count all the boxes. So if you are looking for a ruler, recommend, if you can find a clear one, great, and definitely want one that has centimeters on it. The metal ones do work nicely as well. So this is my future log. My future log is probably going to look a little different than your future log. This is part of the reason why I needed a bullet journal in the beginning. Why I found myself looking for a bullet journal is that I found myself in early 2020 in a new job where I needed to be a lot more organized than I was used to being. I needed to be more structured and more planned, and really thinking ahead on what I was going to spend my time on. And that was something I was not used to having to worry about. So I started using the bullet journaling system. So you can see here, I set up my title page, and I've just used my Sakura Micron to do the title, and then a simple mild liner highlighter to fill in the font to give it a little bit of extra color. All right, and now I am writing out my little calendars. I've actually found it, although this part is very tedious for sure. um, I like having the little calendars. It helps me visually to see the month and the weeks, and I'll also come back and highlight different parts of the month and when I'm gonna be in different types of work meetings. That's helpful for me to be able to visualize my schedule, and then I'll put a little key at the bottom. That's something that I've found that's helpful for me. I like the vertical setup for the future log, and I found these tabs and absolutely fell in love with them. So there's so many amazing bullet journal creators out there who can have tons of inspiration for bullet journaling. I would just caution you that your bullet journal isn't going to be like anyone else's. So don't worry if it's not, right? It's what works for you. And I feel like some people hesitate to get into bullet journaling because they see all these beautiful bullet journals on Instagram and Pinterest, and it's just, it doesn't need to be like that. And YouTube, your bullet journal, first and foremost, is a productivity system to help you get organized and be structured and be more intentional with how you're spending your time. And so it doesn't need to be beautiful, and it can be as beautiful as you want it to be, or you have time for it to be. Right? And there's lots of different ways that you can add a little bit of design and interest. Say you don't want to do these calendars by hand, there's cool shops you can get stickers from with the little calendars, or there's stamp sets that you can get that are helpful for letters or if you or layouts or month names. There's so many great options. There's also lots of places that make cool printables that you could use and print out different spreads for yourself, so that they make this type of journal called an art disc journal, where you can basically, like a binder, like pop in your printed out, punch it, pop it into the journal, and you are ready to go. So those are really nice options if you find yourself with not a lot of time to set it up, but you want something a little bit more aesthetically pleasing and less minimal in your bullet journal. That is a great option to give you a little bit of that design without the time commitment of setting up your own spreads. So I love these tabs. I find that these are super helpful for me, and they do take a lot of time, as you can see. Please understand that this footage is sped up, right? This does take a long time to write out all the little numbers. I think this is one of the things that if I could speed it up, this is something that I would choose to do if I could find. Maybe next year I'll finally cave and go buy some stickers for my future log, so I don't have to spend all the time. I do really like the vertical half page. There's other ways to set up your future log. You can, the simplest way that I've seen is just you take your page and divide it into thirds. You've got your future log title up at the top, and then you have your 3 months for each of your pages. And that's just a simple place for you to come back and to write down all of your tasks and events and birthdays and different things you want to remember in your bullet journal. You can have, and you're going to come back and future reference all the stuff that you put in your future log. So this is where you put all the stuff when you're writing in your daily logs, and you're like, well, this isn't a task that I want to do now, but this is something that'd be helpful to do this time, and you just don't want to forget, right? So part of your bullet journal is just to take all that stuff that's bopping around in your head and give it a place to go. So here in the title, I'm using again my 05 Sakura Micron to do the title font. And you can see I'm using my ruler to kind of line up the bottom and the top of the letters. I find that if I freehand the curved part of the letters, that I do better with it than if I use a circle template, but you may find the circle template is easier for you. Again, this was just a simple font I found on Pinterest, and I really liked it. I thought it was cute, and then wrote it out in my bullet journal. I find it's helpful to write the guidelines. You can kind of see where I've put the guidelines for the letters. so that I know where the top and the bottom, try to make the top and the bottom of the letters work. So this is where the magic happens for my future log. This is where I cut the tabs. This is called a faux Dutch door. So where you make a Dutch door in your bullet journal, you basically cut away part of the page to make like a mini page inside of your bullet journal, which is really cool. Some people are really hesitant to cut their bullet journal. You do not need to cut your bullet journal if you do not want to cut your bullet journal. I don't think I was ready to cut my bullet journal the first time I did it or had a bullet journal. So, like, this is maybe something you work yourself up to. If you are going to cut your bullet journal, I would say be careful when you get to the top. You can see there's the binding is right there. You want to make sure that you give yourself enough paper on either side of the binding that you don't compromise the integrity of the binding of your bullet journal. So now I'm cutting out the tabs. I really like this. When I am using my bullet journal, I find it's really easy because of this cutout to quickly flip to my future log without having to bookmark it or come back and kind of pan through the pages to find it. So I find that this is really helpful and it helps me kind of quickly get back to my future log. And it's a nice, easy setup that helps me to kind of visually see all of the months and what I have planned so that I can easily schedule what I have coming up. So I find that this setup works really well for me. A more simple setup might work for you. So you can see now I have all of the months and all of my tabs. Each of the months owns about half the page. It's just a cute way to set up my future log that gives me what I need so I can plan for the future. So I really like it, and this is my cat. Who's making a debut. Story loves bullet journaling. All right, so this is a spread that you probably won't need in your bullet journal, but something I have found again in my current role. We're planning work events, like meetings, like a year in advance. And that was something very new to me. So I just set up. I found this spread to be helpful, so I set it up to just have a place to put those dates that are coming up next year. So I have just a place to capture them. I will go to my current bullet journal and look at it, and then I can transfer all of these dates to my new one. So you can see I didn't wait long enough, and I colored in my 2023 without waiting for the gel pen to dry. So I had to come back with my correction tape and my white gel pen to cover up my smudgy title. Not a problem. It's okay. There's a lot of ways to fix things. You could make a new version and just cut it out and put it on top. You could kind of black it out and then write new stuff on top of that. There's lots of different ways to do it. All right, so now I have a bonus spread for y'all. I have a monthly spread that I've set up, so you can see how I set up my monthly spreads. My monthly spreads are super simple. I don't typically have a lot of time, so I just put a simple title. Again, here I'm using my Tombow brush pen. This is a simple blue one just to give it a little pop of color for January. And I've got my monthly log spread on the one side, and I just have the dates of the month running down the side. And then after the dates, you have the days of the week. And this is where you can put things from your future log and write them in here. You're going to make sure that you capture all those birthdays. And this is also a cool place to put all of those events that are going on in your life, right? Anything cool that happened that day that you want to capture and reflect. Remember, your bullet journal isn't just a place to put tasks, it's also a place to put your thoughts and what was going on in your life, right? This is a journal. So you can reflect back on who you were and what were you thinking at that point in time. It's a little time capsule of your life at that point. So I have my monthly log, and then across from a monthly log, I do my monthly tasks spread. I do something a little bit different with my monthly tasks. And again, you can see I did the juxtaposition of the plainer font with the curly scripty font. And I like to set up these weeks. So I'll actually make, like you can see, this little box where I've set up the weeks of the month. And that way I can put a dot when I think I'm going to work on that. One that makes me think, okay, I don't need to do this week, but maybe I need to come back and deal with that next week. So that just helps me to think through what I need to do and feel like I'm being accomplished. And of course, you want to sign your bullet journal so that if I ever get lost, it can come back to you after this video is recorded. I will have my phone number so that people can call or text me if this gets lost. Because you put a lot of time and energy into your bullet journal and you want it to come back to you. And that is it. That is my 2022 bullet journal setup. We'll do a quick flip through. This is my grid spacing again and my key spread, followed by my 2 simple index spreads. And my future log with my cool Dutch door tabs that I love. This setup really works well for me. I highly encourage you to find one that works well for you. And then I've got my 2023 future dates just to capture all those little things that are coming up next year that I want to have and not forget about. And my January monthly log. And that is it. That is my 2022 bullet journal setup. Hope you all enjoyed it and you got something out of it. And happy bullet journaling, everyone.
All right, thank you everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and that'll be coming out in addition with the resources after the event with the thank you email, so that you have a list of, you can watch the video again if you want to, and you can pause it, and in addition to the PowerPoint and the recording for the event. So, all right, we have time on the schedule. If anybody would like to share your bullet journal or to talk about your journey with bullet journaling and what has worked for you, we have a little bit of time here if anybody would like to share their own.
If we don't have if
Go
we
ahead.
don't have anyone that wants to share, we do have some questions adding up.
Cool.
So we can start in the Q&A, and then if someone would like to share afterwards, we would love to see your bullet journal if you have any ideas to share with the group. So our first question, Lisa, comes from Jan. She says, very impressive. What is the benefit of written versus electronic?
That's a great question. So there's been a lot of research over the years about the act of writing, and the act of writing versus typing. It helps your brain log the memory of that activity, that thought, a lot more solidly. There's been lots of research that says that the act of writing really helps your brain process that information. I also find that when I reflect on that information as well later, that it helps me to kind of remember what was going on in that meeting, right? Like I said, that reflection piece where you go back and you review your notes and you kind of check what you were thinking. I actually personally use a combination of both electronic and handwritten notes. I find for my work, like actual like notes, I do keep them electronically. And then for my personal notes and things like WiM, I find that writing them in my notebook works better for me. So I actually use a combination of both. But certainly the act of writing just helps with your memory and helps you kind of process that information a little differently than it does when you're typing things. Great question.
Well, and Leslie goes into what you were just talking about. Is there a benefit of using both written and electronic?
Yep. So that's some people do use both. There is a bullet journal companion app that's available out there. There's lots of apps as well that do similar things. If you're more of an electronic person and you want to set it up an electronic bullet journal, there are apps available out there that do that. So that's certainly an option if you're not a pen and paper person. I think I grew up on pen and paper, so I like it. There's also the aspect of pen and paper that's different than electronic, and that is really kind of disconnecting a bit and giving you that peace, that space from all of the buzz and kind of chaos that is everything online, right? And all social media and everything. It's you and your bullet journal, and it's you and your mind and that time to kind of really think through what's going on in your day and reflect. A lot of people like to bullet journal, and like for instance, like to open my bullet journal in the morning and think about it. And I'll kind of jot down things that I want to do that day, and I'll come back and I'll update it throughout the day. And then a lot of people like to come back at the end of the day and they'll write notes and kind of reflect on their day and like, how did it go? What do they want to think about? Like, for example, I was on the phone with my niece and she was like having a ball just turning the lights on and off. It's like something simple. It's like, that was a cute moment that I just want to remember. This is something I might jot down in my bullet journal at the end of the day just to kind of help remember it.
Awesome. Another question is, how long does it take to prepare your journal per year or month? I know that you answered the year part, but what about monthly?
Yeah, the monthly setup is usually pretty fast. I would say my monthly setup usually takes me, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes tops at most. And that's if I'm like really like being fancy and like sketch it out. Now that I've kind of gotten used to how I want my monthly layout to be, I think my last monthly layout might have taken me like 5-10 minutes tops. And that was with getting my gel pens out and adding a little bit of flair and little stars or something. So once you get the layout down, it doesn't take long at all to do that. Now there's plenty of people out there that spend hours setting up your bullet journal. And if you want to use your bullet journal as a creative outlet, by all means do that. And that's great if that's what works for you and that's what makes you happy. That for me, that would be a barrier and that would keep me from being able to use my bullet journal. So I like to add a little bit of color, like you can see with the pens and the markers, but it's enough to kind of add a little bit of that artistic flair. So I feel like it's a little bit fun, but it's not as time consuming, and that would kind of bog it down and would take it a little bit away from me. So that's what I like. That's what works for me.
Great. Another question that came in, are you using an eraser to set the ink?
Oh, actually, no. The eraser is just to clear when I set up my bullet journal, especially if I'm being a little more artistic with it, I'll sketch it out first. And that way you can go back and you can erase it if you don't like the layout, if it doesn't work, if you made a mistake. Erasers are your friend. I like to use a regular pencil, not a mechanical pencil, because I find the mechanical pencils like dig into the page a little bit and leave like a little groove. So I use a regular pencil and then a really high quality eraser. Let me get I brought my pen case here so I could show you. I have the nice white polymer erasers. I love these. High quality erasers, your friend. You can buy these for cheap at Staples. And I just come back and after I've penned it in, and then I erase everything. Make sure that it's dry before you do that. Like I said, the gel pens do take a little bit more time, so make sure you wait for everything to dry before you come back and erase things, because you will smudge it up, as you saw in the video.
Great. Another question, what sort of pencil do you use when you sketch out your spread?
Very good. So I just use this is my regular pencil. So I don't use a mechanical pencil. I just use a regular pencil just to sketch it out. And that way, if I don't like it or I don't like the way it looks, I can come back and erase it. You may have also caught in the video that one of the things that I do to kind of when I first setting up my bullet journal is I will take those tabs and I'll just take like sticky notes. Let me get my current one with the tab stuck in the back. I'll take like a Post-it note with tabs and I'll rip it up. I'll make a list of spreads that I want to use that I like. And at this point, I've done this a few times. This is, I think, like my 5th bullet journal that I've set up. So I have an idea what spreads I actually like and I use. And so I'll rip up the little Post-it notes and stick them in my bullet journal so I can check the layout to make sure that I like it before I sketch it in.
Great.
Any other questions?
If anyone has anything that they'd like to talk about, just raise your hand in the reactions section and I will call on you and we can unmute. All right. I think that's all of the questions. Thank you guys for the presentation.
Thank you so much. So we have one raised hand. Leslie?
Oh, yep.
Go ahead, Leslie.
Yeah. Hi. Sorry, I've asked like a million questions. Can you hear me?
Go for it.
Yeah, we can
All right,
hear you great.
thanks. All right, cool. Yeah, so I've tried to use a bullet journal and I just did like a very basic setup and
Yeah.
it just kind of like fell out for me.
Okay.
Like it just started being, something that I was just taking notes down and I didn't set up my, weekly tasks and everything.
Okay.
So how did you transition to like focusing on like implementing it
Sure.
permanently?
Yeah, no problem. So, like I said, I started. I actually have my art disc journal. I started on an art disc journal, and I just had a really simple. This isn't fancy. Like, just started writing things down just to practice using the system and to see like what I liked about it, and did I really want to, go further with it. I wasn't sure if it was going to work. And it's really just trying it out and just seeing what works for you. I don't use my bullet journal every day. Like some people might be like, but for me, I don't need to. There's days where I'm very busy and the bullet journal doesn't help me. So I don't use it on those days. So if I have a quieter day where I can sit and reflect a little bit more, then I write it down. I think part of it is that you kind of build up in your head that you have to do this thing and you really don't. Like your bullet journal is for you. Like if your bullet journal is causing you stress, then something is not working, right? It's supposed to make your life easier and more organized. And it's about like also there's a little bit of discipline with going back and looking at those tasks, right? As you write down the tasks and you think about the things that you're doing, what's really worth your time, right? That is this really important? That migration piece is really important as you think about when you set up your next monthly spread and you go back and look through your logs. And like my personal bullet journal, I don't have daily logs for every day. Like I might have a daily log or two for the weekend, and then I might have a task list for the whole week. And that's what works for me in my personal bullet journal. In my work journal, I have a lot more daily logs because that's what works. So I recommend just give it a try and try not to put too much pressure on yourself, and then give yourself that time for that reflection and that migration. That's a really important piece of the process. Is this task really worth my time? And if it's not important and nothing's going to happen if it doesn't get done, scratch that puppy out of there. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have, like I said, I have a work bullet journal. I have a work bujo and a personal bujo. Just found that works better for me to keep the two separate, and I can be focused on my work stuff in my work bullet journal, and then my personal journal has everything else. That's what works for me. A lot of people don't like that and they have one bullet journal, but again, it's your system. It's what works for you. All right. Any other questions? I think we're ready for the giveaway.
Yep, I think we
Share
can.
my screen. All right. Da, 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 da. Here we go. Okay.
All right.
And all right, so we are giving away not one, but two official edition to bullet journals. This is a really nice journal. It comes with its own grid spacing spread built in. It has an index and a key and a future log. It also has this awesome little booklet in the back to get you started with all the bullet journaling basics. This is a really great bullet journal for those of you trying to get started with bullet journaling. All right, so Morgan's going to let us know who won our prizes tonight.
All right, Lisa, a little spin on this. Give me a number 1 through 13.
7.
That would be Kenya Jacobs.
All right, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I could feel it.
So
That's
what we
awesome.
will do for our winners is I have your email addresses that you signed up with for the event. We will send you a WiM Texas email requesting your address. It'll be your mailing address so that we can ship it out and get it to you. So we've got
Exciting.
one more to give away. So I need another
Alright.
number. 1 through
Random number.
1 through 12. No, I think we lost somebody.
2.
That would be you. So
Oh,
let's
no.
give you another number.
I maybe got a little happy during Black Friday. I don't need let's see. 10.
That would be Leslie.
Leslie.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Leslie.
Yay, my questions paid off.
There you go. You've won a brand new addition to bullet journal.
Well,
Very nice.
I tell you what, that'll be so helpful because I've tried to
There
do
you
it from
go.
scratch before, and like I said, I've just kind
Yeah.
of fallen out with it.
Perfect. Well, this is perfect for you then. I'm very excited for you to have that. And if any of you have questions or there's anything I can help you with, feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email address in the chat. Y'all are more than welcome to reach out to me anytime. And I'm happy to help you with any questions that you have that come up. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I hope you got as much out of it. I love bullet journaling. It's made a huge difference in my life and helping me be more organized, more productive, more intentional with my time. If you enjoyed this event and you want to hang out with us again in the future, we have a UT Girl Day. We're going to do a glass blowing demo, which is super exciting. And then on the 17th, Miss Angela is going to and Laura are going to bring you a create your own vision board event, which is very exciting and should be an awesome event. Thank you so much. All right. So if you want to learn more about women in manufacturing, you can find out about our national group through www.womeninmanufacturing.org or follow them on LinkedIn or Facebook. WiM National is also on Instagram and Twitter under Women in MFG. Or if you want to check out our chapter, you can go to www.womeninmanufacturing.org/Texas. You can actually visit and see some of our past events recordings are available on our website. Or follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. Our social media lead, Karen, does a fantastic job. There's tons of great content in addition to having lots of information about upcoming events, so you never miss out on a cool event that's coming up in your area. All right, so thank you, everyone. I really appreciate everyone joining tonight. Again, if you have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and put my email here real quick in the chat. If anybody has a question, you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer anything that comes up and help you out. Thank you all so much.
Thank you guys. Have a great night.
Happy
Thank you.
2022.
Lisa.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa.
Have a great